Compass Mining makes Bitcoin mining accessible to everyone. Start mining in as little as 48 hours with our turnkey hardware, online, and mining directly to your Bitcoin wallet within 2 business days. Find out more at compassmining.io and get started now. Hey miners, welcome back to the channel McNallie Money, the new home of power mining analysis. Here we have it, Thursday morning, no shortage of news again in the Bitcoin mining space. We have a flurry of news out from TeraWulf, which we're going to talk about first up in the presentation, then get on to some key political updates from Dennis Porter and the Satoshi Action Fund, and finally finish off with our Miner Madness analyst pick update on our competition. Now, before we get into all that, please take a second, hit the like button, guys. It's a big help to myself and the channel. Feel free to subscribe. We just crossed 46,000 subscribers, and let us know in the comment section below where you rank in Miner Madness, if you've managed to crack the top 50, your thoughts on this recent TeraWulf announcement or news, and your outlook on the Bitcoin mining sector overall. Now, with that being said, let's get into today's video. Okay, guys, so that's right. Thursday morning, fairly green day across the board. We're going to kick off with a mid-morning miner update. We've got a number of key press releases, both within the Bitcoin mining community and within the bigger macro Bitcoin environment. And of course, a nice little update on our Miner Madness Q4 trading competition. Today, we're going to be taking a look at the analyst entry picks, Anthony, and seeing how they're stacking up just about a month into the 3-month competition. So first things first, halfway through the week here, Anthony, or just over. How are you feeling about the portfolio this week?
I'm feeling fine. Yeah, it's been a good week. From my perspective, I've had some nice gain in the portfolio, led by the likes of Riot and Hive Digital. CIFR's doing very well this week. Yeah, Soluna's up again this week. So yes, it's been a good bit.
Fairly nice trading across the week. Yesterday was a little bit difficult. Bitcoin itself is hovering back above 67,000, Anthony. So we can bring that chart up here. We're starting to see some movement in the right direction. We had talked a few days ago about some of the upcoming catalysts, one of which being the US election. Do you think we're going to start to see major movement before that, or do you think the market's kind of waiting to get that piece of uncertainty sorted out?
Yeah, I think we need that election decision to come out there, because many times the polls can say one thing and we see something else totally happen. I think we spoke on the previous podcast about the percentage at the moment. It appears that President Trump is looking likely, but it's quite close to call at the moment.
It certainly is. And it was interesting to see in the comments, there's a lot of people that have differing polls than what we showed there, Anthony. We're actually going to come on to a political update, a bipartisan one, in a second here from our good friend Dennis Porter. But before we do, I wanted to bring up the mid-morning market update. A few notable callouts here. We've got some news out this morning from TeraWulf, which we're going to come on to in a second here. TeraWulf down in excess of 6% this morning, just right around the $6 US mark. And then a few of the usual suspects this week, the CIFR, the Riots, the IREN, continuing to perform quite well, really across kind of a mixed bag today. Hey, Anthony?
Absolutely. Yeah. The news come out with TeraWulf, and, you can take it either way, positive or maybe not so positive. But I'd look at it as maybe hedging towards positive news. The fact that, they're going to announce this convertible note. So it sounds like they're paving the way for something coming up where they'll need a lot more capital to provide maybe facilities for HPC. Who knows? But we've mentioned many times on the podcast over the last few months that the likes of CIFR, who went and have options to purchase 3 big sites, 500 megawatts each, and the likes of what TeraWulf have been doing in terms of they sold a Nautilus stake in there for $92 million. And they haven't given any growth strategy in terms of Bitcoin mining past the end of 2024. So they've talked about HPC. They've got a site there that, they can literally attract up to 750 megawatts of power. And so that to me sounds like, maybe imminently something we'll hear from them or CIFR. So it's like a 2-horse race at the moment. yesterday we came out with the great news that Core Scientific had achieved their target of 500 megawatts. Fantastic for them to do that in literally only 4 months since they announced the first part of that strategy. So back on the 3rd of June, they announced the first 200 megawatts and then said they were looking to do 500 megawatts. Well, they've achieved 500 megawatts in a short space of time. That contract set up there, 8.7 billion. And we're looking now for the next mining company to come out with a similar type deal, maybe not 500 megawatts, but something that's substantial as a starting point to show what they can do. And CIFR and TeraWulf fit that bill because they're pretty much good at building data centers. I mean, that's what it's all about. It's building the infrastructure to deal with this. TeraWulf have actually been doing projects with smaller amounts of megawatts in terms of HPC. They're now scaling up to do a 20 megawatt project, and I think followed by a 50 megawatt project. So they're really ramping up their HPC scale of the business there. CIFR have got a history of producing or building great data centers. So, I fully expect them in the near term to also be coming out with something more positive in this space. Why would you have, 500 megawatt sites? I mean, if you were to fill them with Bitcoin miners, that would be a significant amount of capital required to build and also to pay for the miners to go into those facilities. So it sort of leads itself to HPC place, but the time will come.
Yeah, I think your hunch there is totally correct, Anthony. We've seen a number of press releases, a lot of positioning with many of these companies as they start to get avenues open or have the infrastructure available for these HPC contracts. Another interesting observation you and I have talked about this week is the divergence we're now seeing within the Bitcoin mining group of the so-called pure play miners versus the HPC focused miners. So we're starting to see more interest coming back into the names like Riot, like Marathon, CleanSpark. I've seen a lot of buzz about online as well. That's really a reflection of the anticipation in the price of Bitcoin. So we've got another table here from HODL 15, Anthony. $192 million yesterday on the 23rd. So great to see substantial inflows. However, we did have our first red day in quite some time, nearly $80 million the day prior. Really starting to get that snowball we've talked about so many times on the channel, Anthony. Do you feel like Bitcoin finally has the momentum or inertia it needs to take that next step up?
It's imminently there now. Look at it took $2.2 billion of inflows before we saw an outflow day. So, the 22nd saw 79 million outflows. And then yesterday we've seen 192 inflows. So, the greens have it at the moment. The supply is reducing and the demand is increasing. So that to me suggests, imminently that we're going to, obviously increase in price because economics will say that I'm not selling my Bitcoin, you're not selling yours, and the other 50% of people that haven't moved it in the last year or two aren't selling theirs either. So it all bodes well for an increase there from a fundamental standpoint, never mind what the technical guys will come out with all their graphs and charts. But I'm sure we're both aligned on the fact that we expect Bitcoin to start to rally. And yeah, it's just positive. And talking about HPC, yes, we've got the pure play miner, CleanSpark. But if you remember back to our visit to Amsterdam, Zach was actually very congratulatory towards Core Scientific for achieving that a contract, and he felt there wouldn't be many more of those around. So let's see if there is an announcement coming out, because that may open the door then to a lot more activity in this space, especially with miners with significant power infrastructure close to fiber and water, which are the sort of like the elements required for producing, these HPC hosting facilities.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Now, that's really a perfect segue, Anthony, to a point you made earlier about TeraWulf. So we've talked about TeraWulf over the last few months, really, as one of the front runners in the HPC race, in our opinion. Over the last few months, we've seen a number of key press releases come out talking about selling their stake in the Nautilus facility to raise capital or CapEx that maybe could be used for some potential infrastructure purchases or conversions. Then we saw them extend the lease at their Lake Mariner facility. As you astutely said yesterday, Anthony, a lot of these big companies or hyperscalers just simply aren't interested in 5, 10 year type of situations. They need that longevity. So we feel like that was a clue, so to speak, or a breadcrumb. Now, a flurry of press releases from TeraWulf, so 3 in the last 24 hours, talking about a share repurchase program, a convertible note, and then an upsizing on that convertible note and some additional details here. So before we get into the specific articles, Anthony, probably the most recent one, I suppose, can you talk about just what we're seeing in terms of the breadcrumbs here and why we think something may be coming? Compass Mining is your trusted partner in Bitcoin mining. Whether you're investing in one machine or thousands, our customizable solutions are tailored to meet your needs. We are your experts in Bitcoin mining, offering a platform where individuals and businesses can purchase hardware, host machines, and access a range of ancillary Bitcoin mining services. We also specialize in large-scale site development and data center operations. Discover more at compassmining.io and see how we can power your success today.
Yeah, I mean, you've alluded to the fact that they've raised capital, they've increased the length of that lease. So that lease only had initial lease had 10 years left, and that's really not sufficient. I mean, Core Scientific's deal is going to run for the next 14 years, and it's got options to extend after that. So you want to make sure you've got a time frame that meets a client's requirement. So that's been increased to 35 years, plus there's an option to extend another 45 years, which is a total of 80 years. And that gives them sort of future proof in terms of where they need to be for, HPC hosting agreement. Now, today's update comes out and, it's already increased the amount of convertible notes that they're going to put onto the market is 425 million now. And that will have a 2.75% interest rate. So that's quite a low interest rate. I mean, bear in mind, remember going back to 2021, 2022, a lot of these miners were getting debt around about the 16, 17, 18. I saw 19% one miner was paying there. And, these were very challenging times. So 2.75 as a convertible senior note suggests that in that one sentence itself, that it's going to be used for HPC. The market likes HPC, the predictability of the revenues, the predictability of the margins. That to me speaks volumes as to where this funding is going to go. And the fact that they've not even looked at providing any indication to the market about any BTC growth in terms of hash rate over the next 12 months, this is where the money's going to. This is going to HPC. So that note there will run until 2030, and there is a cap price of $12.80 per share of common stock, which represents effectively 100% premium on the closing price of the TeraWulf stock as of yesterday. The second part of it is they're also going to use some of the funding to repurchase stock, so that will reduce the amount of ordinary shares available in the company. Bear in mind, as at today, the company's valuation is 2.3 billion. So I think the update yesterday was about $200 million worth of stock being purchased, and so that will bring that down by probably about 5%. And what will happen is, as the stock reduces, the share price will take account of that and probably increase by the 5%. So shareholders will see, a small amount of benefit from that there. But obviously the share price has really rallied in these last 3 or 4 months, and it's hovering over $6 today, even though it's the worst performing share. So you've got to sort of look at this news today that's coming out, and you've got to align it with all the other bits of news that have come out in the last week or so. I mean, updates out. This is a lot of updates for TeraWulf, and so this suggests we're gearing up to something bigger than what we're seeing at the moment. So I'd be interested to see the next update that comes out. Hopefully we'll hear a big announcement on what we've been talking about richly for the last 2 or 3 months.
Yeah, I was going to say, Anthony, they've got the funding, they've got the location, they have everything in place but the client. So that's going to be the next piece of the puzzle here. And this is why I like following companies so closely like we do on the channel. After you've been through a few of these cycles, you understand these companies, you see these type of patterns with the press releases and the news. Definitely spider senses are tingling on this one, Anthony. And the two pieces as a TeraWulf investor I like myself, Number one is not using dilution, especially potentially before a major deal. The other point here is the share buyback. Now, we did see some criticism on Twitter and YouTube from other accounts saying, hey, you know what? They're buying shares back while their share price is at a high here. But unfortunately, that's kind of what happens when your stock's producing well. And same situation as a lot of the blue chips when they go to purchase back shares. So that is what it is, Anthony. But overall here, I think this was fairly bullish. We're just waiting now on that final piece of the pie, which obviously is the most important, the client. So with that being said, we talked about a few Bitcoin catalysts at the start of the week here. One of them being the political landscape, the US political or presidential election. Now, Dennis Porter was on the channel a few weeks ago as well. He's very active in this space with his firm, the Satoshi Action Fund. They lobby government groups. He came out last night saying they're having a big announcement today. And based on what we can see from Twitter, it looks like there may be two. So a lot of people last night, Anthony, were anticipating the announcement would be about one of the states in the US actually putting Bitcoin on their treasury within their state. So that one has not yet come out as far as I'm aware. However, he's also come out with a major statement today talking about the state of Pennsylvania passing a bipartisan Bitcoin rights bill through the House in a sweeping majority. So both of these, Anthony, very bullish for Bitcoin overall. Obviously, the miners are a proxy to that, but more specifically, the bipartisan support we're seeing from both sides, Democratic and Republican, on this issue.
Absolutely, and it just goes to the increased adoption of Bitcoin. So, we've seen the ETFs get approved this year and the massive amounts of Bitcoin they've purchased there. And now if we're seeing, the likes of state treasuries using Bitcoin as a treasury position, then that's just even more adoption there. So, as one does it, we might see more of a domino effect and other states decide to do it. Bear in mind, if you think about the likes of El Salvador, the first country to adopt Bitcoin as a currency, and they seem to have gone from strength to strength, focus on that there, and they've added to their position there. They've got a good stack of Bitcoin in the treasury. It can really turn around some economies, especially when you think about these economies that have got seriously high inflation. And I'm not talking about the 2, 3, 4% that we see in some of the Western economies like the US, the UK, Japan, Germany. I'm talking about where it's 100%, sort of like the likes of Turkey, maybe Brazil, Venezuela. So some of these countries where it's serious high, then this is a way forward. So it's great to see this from one of the states. Hopefully there's a knock-on effect. We're really pleased with the work that Dennis and the team do for Satoshi Action Fund. And this is just another element of the achievements that they're producing. So hands up to and applaud the work they're doing.
Yeah, hands up and hats off to Dennis. Hopefully we can get him back on the channel soon for an update on this. And like you say, Anthony, just great to see the overall adoption coming here, especially in light of what's coming up in November in terms of the federal election in the United States. So great to see that bipartisan support. Now, the final topic we wanted to touch on here, Miner Madness. We're about 24 days in, so just about a third done the competition here. Today, we wanted to provide an update on the analyst entries into this competition. So a very interesting series of events as we see all these miners really take off since the start of October. We mentioned yesterday, Anthony, I think nearly everyone in the competition is in the green. So this may go down as one of the most successful trading competitions that I've ever heard of. But in terms of the analysts here, anything standing out or surprising? I know a few of the top favorites, I suppose, going into this competition aren't necessarily in the top in terms of the top three miners.
It's, to be honest with you, it's really, really close. And if you think about 66% of everybody that entered the competition had IREN in either their first, second, or third choice. So when you have a high percentage of stocks, I think IREN was the most chosen stock, followed by CleanSpark, followed by Bitfarms, followed by Riot. And yes, we've seen a couple at the top of the leaderboard who've chosen some great stocks there. So if you manage to get, say, the top three performers, you're looking at probably over 30, 33, 34% in terms of achievement in the first 23 days, which is outstanding. But actually, these leaderboard has changed significantly day by day. So if you look there, the fact that you're leading actually at the moment with effectively $75 of profit based on the 300 invested at the start of the period. And in last place, it's $35. So there's only $40 between the first and last place in terms of the analysts there. But if you look at the gap in that middle section, you're talking a couple of dollars separates, 100 places. So if it really goes down to picking the right stocks, pick them in the right order. It's only 23 days, and there's a lot of time to go. I mean, we've just spent 10 minutes talking about TeraWulf. Where will that stock end up if we see a big news story? If we see CIFR with a big news story coming out there, how's that going to impact the stock? Do we think it's all priced in at the moment? Is there more to come? Do we think Core Scientific's correctly priced in, having got 500 megawatts of HPC hosting? And bear in mind, Compass Point, with their prediction that the stock should be $20. Well, today it's hovering, around $13.60, I think, at the last time I saw it. So that's still got a way to go to get to Compass Point's target. And bear in mind, theirs is quite prudent. They're only giving it a 15 times price earnings ratio. And that increase, if once the revenues start coming in as predicted, they'll get rated up to sort of 20 to 25x. But this table can change. This chain will change 1,000 times before the end of the year, and that's what it's great about there. I mean, we've got so many people checking their positions through the website. It's great to see the traction of people coming onto the website. And bear in mind, this competition is one part of the website. Take a few more minutes and have a look what else is on the website. I'm sure you'll find there's a lot more interest to find on there. All the data from these mining companies, all the sort of like the senior teams and the executives there, all their backgrounds are on there as well. So there's a lot of information to look at. But we just felt having a competition would be great for people to sort of like, spend some time. If the Bitcoin price isn't going up as quickly as they want, they've got something else to focus on as well. So great that it's happening. And as I say, a long way to go. Another 10 weeks nearly to go of this competition. So we'll keep mentioning it during the podcast each week, but I'm sure this leaderboard will change. You've got a healthy lead there at the moment in terms of about 100 places on the next person there. But we saw even yesterday or the day before that A-Trade had literally got within about 10 spaces or 10 places to you in the leaderboard. So a short change, one stock going up, one stock going down, can have dramatic effect on the leaderboard. And let's see how it's going into next week when we'll review it again.
Most definitely. And yeah, I happen to be leading the analysts right now, but I'm going for top spot overall, Anthony, not top analyst. So I've got about 53 more places to move here, but you're totally right. Make sure you guys check the live leaderboard on the website as well. If you're still here, hit the like button. Feel free to subscribe. Leave a comment. Let us know if you've managed to crack the top 100 in Miner Madness, what your spidey senses are saying in terms of the next HPC deal, and of course, your outlook on the mining sector overall. That's all for now. Thanks for watching. We'll see you here tomorrow.